Hello and welcome to the 1990 series. It's me again, Amanda O'Shea, the Loving Life Coach from the Serendipity Experience. And I have with me today Jenny Anderson, all the way from Essex. Jenny, welcome. Oh, even Siri's speaking to you, my phone. Welcome. And it's so lovely to have you as part of this series. I better just switch that off. And it's been such a, so ever since I was introduced to the principles, you were always there, because my very first training I ever did was with your Aunt Sue, and she talked about then her niece Jen, and I hadn't heard anything about it before. So the work that you did back then on the Three Principles Movies website back then, which was pretty much, there wasn't much back then, like that would have been 2012 or 2013, that kind of time. I listened and watched you a lot. I listened to you and watched you a lot. And it was, so you've been there for those, whether they are 7 years or so, as part of my journey from the very beginning. And thank you for all the work that you did. You're still doing today, but back then there's a lot of work that you did sharing this message with the world, especially in Europe. Right?
Yeah, well, I know it was Rudy's idea initially, is to go to America and get a documentary, because one of his friends said to him, if this stuff's so good, why does no one know about it? And it kind of got this idea going with him. So we weren't videographers, but we bought video cameras, like good video cameras, and sort of went off to America. And actually it's Jack Pransky that really got the ball rolling, because he was our main contact, and he then spoke to other people that he knew, and he kind of said, these guys are okay, I'm kind of giving them the thumbs up. So he started it all off, really. And then it was Gabriella and Linda Ramus who really kind of got people in for us to interview. Linda Ramus let us live with her for a good month or two.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of like we had such support for the movie site, because I think it was really a platform for everyone, like a neutral platform, not promoting anyone in particular, but promoting the understanding. Yeah. And I often say, actually, I said it to my dad the other night, like, my mum and dad invested a lot of money into the movie site because they took on some of our debt for us. And then at some point they just said, you know what, we want to support what you're doing, and they let us off the debt. So I feel like the whole thing happened out of such love and such kind of generosity from the community, from our families. And then we got to kind of go along for the ride and get to go into the jail systems and meet people within the homeless shelter. And it really was, I think, for me, where my understanding took off. I think it's 2008, 2009, or 2009, 2010, when we were filming a lot of the early stuff. And I really saw in real time how this was applicable to everybody. Like, there isn't like, oh, it works here and not here. It was like, this is true for all life, for all people. And I think I'm always grateful to the opportunity to have been part of creating the movie site, for the sitting in on interviews, and editing, and you see how through that experience it's almost like we got this deeper understanding of something. So it feels like it was a privilege to be part of it. And now I kind of look online, and there's videos and books and podcasts, and there's so much stuff. There's a wealth of information, but it's those early days it was very hard to get information and to get books.
And isn't that incredible? That's only 10 years ago. You're talking like 10 years ago. And in that 10 years, we can't imagine, like, in the next 10 years, knowing that this is how mainstream this is starting to, become, how it's starting to seep in. It's very exciting to be part of it, isn't it? And it's super exciting for me I remember watching you first do this sort of interview with Michael Nielsen, that you were together with him, and you were like, oh, I'm with Michael Neil. It's a little bit like, kind of, that's what it is like now, that the people even that were trained 6, 7, 8, I don't know, or in the last recent years, they're all stepping up, and they're now training people, and you see it just rippling out, this rippling out effect of we're going to be busy. We're all going to be busy, because the news is spreading far and wide. And you're still, you've got these wonderful, what you're doing now, and you're sharing and freedom thinking, and you're still all over the place, right? You're in overseas, and you're in Sweden. You got a project going on over there, and so it's still in you, isn't it? You've not got tired of spreading the word, or you're not got tired of sharing the message.
I think I've probably got a bit tired. I'm not very good on social media, so I know that many people probably don't know so much about what's been going on, but it has been quite nice to step back, I guess, from being so sort of known and doing all of those things, and just, you know, still quietly getting on with this work, and really seeing what's my language, what's my understanding, what's my message, what's my gift to share with people. And it's been quite a nice experience to go off and do the different stuff we've done in Sweden, stuff in South Africa, and really kind of push what is it I know, what is it I'm sharing.
Yeah.
And I think both Dave and I have had at times in Nepal and in South Africa is it good that we're bringing this understanding to this part of the world, to these people. Because we kind of laugh and say, you know, the British have always kind of gone to other countries with their good ideas, and we've definitely reflected on that, but we've realised this is the most important message that anybody can wake up to and anyone can hear. And it feels like the language always finds you, and you manage to connect and communicate with people on a level which is so beyond the words. You start to recognise the love and the connection that's already there when your stories fall away. Yeah. And I think that's what I've enjoyed, especially the work out in South Africa, because, you know, it doesn't matter how long you've been around this understanding, there's so much thought that you live out of that's invisible to you. And you'll kind of have your exceptions of where you think this kind of area or these kind of people aren't going to hear this. And you come up against your own ego, you come up against your own ideas. But then what you see is that there's a language that's communicated through this message that's beyond language and it's beyond words. And you end up coming away with like dear friends and people that you've genuinely fallen in love with. And it's again, I think I always say this word over and over again on webinars, but it feels like a privilege to spend a life connecting with people and meeting people and just pointing them back inside to their own place of wisdom, and that place is where we are the same.
Best job in the world.
It doesn't feel like a job. Like my niece always laughs and she's, well, I'm kind of deciding whether I should get like a normal job or live like you and Dave, like when you don't really work. I said, oh, I know we don't talk about it like it's work, but you know, this is what we do. Like, and it doesn't feel most of the time like a job or work, because you just get to sit down with people and you get to see people light up again.
Yeah.
And go beyond their limitations and recognize something within themselves, which, and you know when somebody is really starting to see it, because it's like they stop kind of looking to you. They stop wanting you to give them the answer. They stop wanting you to tell them more, and then they just start speaking. And you know that they've tapped into that internal teacher, the knowledge, the guide, the source. And it's like you get to see that over and over again.
And it is, it is. That's exactly what happened to me the second time I'd been to see Jack Pransky. Was he was talking about wisdom, and I was sort of thinking, oh gosh, I could listen to him all day long speak, you know, when he was doing one of his talks, and he said something like, you've got all the wisdom inside of you. It was like he was listening to my thinking, you know, and whatever way I was like, oh, imagine being able to talk like that, or imagine being that wise, or I was giving my power again, you know, way to, and in that moment he said, you know, you've got all the wisdom that I've got access to, you know, inside of you, or you've got, I can't remember what he said, but it was that, like that, oh my goodness, I'm as wise as you are. I've got wisdom and connection to that. And it's one little sentence, like you say, that you see people. So when you're sharing and you're doing your thing, you see people kind of, you see them hear something. You see it in their faces, don't you? You see that, like, it's wonderful.
And sometimes people start speaking, and you know that they're kind of surprising themselves with what's coming out. It's new, it's fresh. It's like, and I think you see that when people's stories collapse, it's like it's a collapsing of the story of me, the collapsing of the story of what you've built up to be your life and yourself. And when that collapses, what comes through is this newness of possibility. And that reminds me of, my first experience of this with Dr. Roger Mills was sitting there and realizing this idea of me, this suffering being, this one that's found life so terribly hard, is a story. It's a story. It's a potential. And I couldn't have collapsed that story. You know, I'd spent years trying to delve through it and pick through it. But there's an understanding that completely collapses that story.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you're left in the unknown. You're left in this space of just almost like a newborn. Wow. So it's not that then life doesn't start creating again, like, you know, I've spoken before about how that first experience of the principles seemed to collapse my idea of eating disorders, shyness, anxiety, depression. And then over the next kind of 10 years, I created another character of I'm going to pursuit of perfection. I eat like this. I'm this kind of person. And then when that collapsed, it was like, wow. And you see the grand illusion, and you see how deceptive it is. And you gain again respect for there's this singular source creating life for all of us. And I think you gain respect, you gain understanding, compassion, because wow, the stories I create look real. They look totally real. I'm totally bought into them. And then you see another person who can't see past their story right now, but you know what it is. And you know that it is one shift, one thought away from seeing it for what it is. Yeah. And it's possible for anyone. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this understanding is it's not in any way about one person or one group of people. It's about an entirety of a universe. It's so expansive. And when Roger used to speak about it, he spoke about it as universal, you know, these universal principles. And I think for a long time I hadn't seen how universal they were. I'd kind of said universal within humanity. And then I think it's Dave coming along and sort of talking about the principles within nature. I was like, wow, I totally had that separation in my life. Nature, me, the principles with humanity, not within nature. And so it put everything back together. And I feel that's what the principles do, is they bring everything back to one. There's this singular. And I think that to anyone is a gift, because what their life will then unfold as is magic. It's magical.
It is. It's so clever, isn't it? Like it's so clever, and that the story collapses. The story collapses, and then another one, and then another one's created, and then the story collapses, and then another one's created.
And I know how compelling they are. I think one of the words we used when we were speaking to someone, I think it was Dave that said it, is it's mesmerizing.
Yeah.
We get mesmerized by it. And I think I thought I was going to get a point, like in May next year, May 2020, it'll be 15 years since I've been around this. And I really thought there was going to be a point I got to where I didn't get lost in my stories. I was going to be kind of this enlightened being. And whereas now I think I've got a lot of humor around how caught up I can get. I've got a lot of is learning to be had from all of it. And we're here and we're alive and we get to have stories. So I think it's been nice to stop trying to get somewhere and be much more present with whatever is here, and allowing feeling without thinking I need to know that this is just thought or all thought. And it's been a really nice, I don't know, I feel like the principles went from being something that was you know, an achievement. If I could, you know, something happen and me not get angry or upset, and that's an achievement, to being, wow, no, this is all life. This is the upset, this is the anger, this is the sadness, this is what creates. And there isn't a wrong and right feeling in all of that. But with understanding, it seems we do get more beautiful experiences. And I think we ride the sadness, and we ride the grief in a different way, because there is that understanding.
And that's just the implication of seeing it to be true, that we just have, it just feels better. And that's cool, you know, that's always cool. Jen, thank you so much for everything you've done, everything you're doing, for the way that you show up in, you know, in your beauty inside and out. It's a pleasure to have had you as part of 1990. You are Miss 75.
Thank you. Well, thank you for doing this, Amanda. I think
pleasure.
I have no idea where these videos may end up and who may see them, and it's it's
Yeah.
exciting. It is a gift for the world that you're doing this.
And down the road, like you say, you just don't know. Little ideas pop in our heads, and we roll with them if they feel right. And this is what's happened. So, yeah, I'll crack on. I've just got 15 more to go, and I've I've done it. D-Day. So, lots of love to you. Lots of love to you all, and thank you, thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you, Amanda.
Lots of love. Bye bye. Take care. See you all soon. Bye bye.